didn't realize we'd have to do this again, man. Just earlier in the show, we made the video talking about Elliotte Friedman and his Elias Pettersson trade update, how the Buffalo Sabres could be involved here and how they could be one of these teams. But in this video, we're diving into another NHL Insider's scoop about the Pettersson situation and what other teams could be involved. So, as always, the show is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Go out there and check out the first link in the description if you want to save some money on your VPN and you want to get some free months. It also helps out the channel too, so I'm very appreciative about that. But also, linked in the description of this video will be this article on thefourthperiod.com from earlier this afternoon. Could Ottawa enter the Pettersson race? Now, before diving into the article, I just wanted to generalize, go over the main idea, and just think about what Elias Pettersson could be for the Ottawa Senators. In my mind, I think about having Pettersson and Brady Tkachuk on the same line, and I actually kind of laugh a little bit. That's such a stylistic difference in the way they play the game that I would be very curious as to see how it would go down. Timmy Stu obviously is very good. Him and Pettersson, I think, could feed off of each other very well. They've had some pretty good defensemen step up the past few months here. Thomas Chabot has had some sort of a revival season. Nick Jensen has been good in spurts. And then with other names, Bernard Docker, Jake Sanderson, there are guys that you would want more out of. There are guys that are expected to be good. And then the goaltending in Ottawa has really been good this season, especially compared to prior years. Gone are the days that Jonas Korpisalo is letting the team down, with Anton Forsberg, Levi Merilainen, and Linus Ullmark all sharing the crease. Each of these guys have gone out there with pretty good numbers this season, and I don't think anybody is surprised to see that the Ottawa Senators, upon actually getting good goaltending, they've started to string together positive results. Now, sure, we can talk about how well the goaltending has been and how Ullmark, Merilainen, and Forsberg each have a whole bunch of shutouts, but the Sens themselves have been shut out quite a bit the past little while here too. 2-0 against Boston, 5-0 against New York. By the way, the Rangers have really started to get back in there and string together positive results. Nice to see them actually living up to their potential in some capacity. But the Ottawa Senators, they do have a 100 point caliber guy in Stützle. How about adding another one in Elias Pettersson? The Sens have some defense, so obviously the Canucks could be interested in one of those assets if they were to entertain this trade idea. But in order to get the full scoop, we got to go back over onto that article. Thefourthperiod.com is where it's at. This is what David Pagnotta writes about in regards to Petey. It's no secret the Ottawa Senators have been exploring the market for upgrades, especially on the blue line. But could they shift some of their focus to star center EP40? The Canucks have been engaged in trade discussions with several teams, including the Hurricanes and Sabres, about Pettersson, as well as talks with other clubs about fellow star J.T. Miller. Yep, that's not new. That is indeed something we've talked about multiple times on this channel. The article then talks about how the Hurricanes were trying to acquire Pettersson or Miller in separate trades before settling on Mikko Rantanen. Canucks GM Patrick Allvin appears willing to move Pettersson if the right package is presented, and talks with teams like the Sabres continue. Ottawa has been fishing for upgrades to further enhance their chances of making the postseason, but with limited salary cap space, Sens GM Steve Staios would need to move out a roster player if he makes an impact addition. The Sens have been linked to such players such as Pittsburgh Penguins defenseman Marcus Pettersson and Blue Jackets blue liner Dante Fabro, but they could try to enhance their offense as the club ranks 26th in the NHL in goals for per game. Now, this is where the article diverts. It talks about the Penguins, it talks about the Blue Jackets, it talks about the defense. What about Petey? Well, David Pagnotta then gets into the Pettersson situation here. Petey, 26, is in the first year of an 8-year, $92.8 million contract, and he has a no-movement clause that kicks in July 1st. He currently ranks atop the TFP trade watch list with Miller. According to the Fourth Period's David Pagnotta, the Senators are still believed to have center Josh Norris available, and they could try to package Norris in a larger deal for Pettersson. Norris, 25, is in the third season of an 8-year, $63.6 million contract. In 47 games with the Sens so far, Norris has registered 17 goals and 10 assists for 27 points. Pettersson has tallied 30 points in 42 games with Vancouver to date. Alvin is reportedly seeking a center as the main piece of a package for either Pettersson or Miller, and could look to add a defenseman in the deal as well. And I'm sitting here saying, wait a minute, what? Vancouver is already set ablaze with all the conversations about the Buffalo Sabres and Dylan Cousins. What more for Josh freaking Norris? I don't know about you, I get that Norris is like, versatile, middle-of-the-line center, goal-scoring guy who is on pace for 40 goals a few years ago, but he's in a pretty tough spot this year. Norris hasn't been the healthiest, and I get that's not within his control, but even when he is in the lineup, is he more impactful than a Dylan Cousins even? Honestly, you could make that debate and say maybe not. And for Elias Pettersson of all people? Oh boy, we used the same argument in the last video, but the Colorado Avalanche were already thinking about trading away Marty Necas for Elias Pettersson. More than what they gave for Mikko Rantanen, they evaluated Pettersson higher. What does Ottawa have that could even get close to that kind of situation? I get it, if you're Ottawa, you're not trading away Tim Stützle, you're not trading away our captain Brady Tkachuk, but Josh Norris? Norris in a package deal for Pettersson? I get that Josh Norris is like a goal-scoring guy, and who knows what he could do under a system like Rick Tockett's, but ultimately I don't think this is any form of realistic from the fourth period. I would say Josh Norris even, the only real value that he would actually add on to the Canucks, something that he has that Elias Pettersson may not have, or Dylan Cousins may not have, is the fact that he happened to be really good friends with Quinn Hughes when they were at Michigan together. That's like the only thing, and I don't think that's enough to go out there and make an entire Elias Pettersson trade surrounding Josh Norris. You need defensemen in there, okay, Jake Sanderson, Thomas Chabot. Of course you're not going to do that if you're Ottawa, you already need to acquire more defense, but the Canucks need defense too. Hell, I'm thinking about it like if you get Sanderson and Chabot, not saying it's going to happen, but just spitballing here, if you do get, let's say, Sanderson, Chabot, and Norris for Pettersson, I honestly would understand the perspective from Vancouver's point of view, adding an entire other defense pairing whilst downgrading at the center position, but at the same time, man, it's so difficult to think about trading away Pettersson in some sort of a move like this. I get it, the team wants to move on from him before his trade protection comes in, and he's in a down year, but that's the thing, he's in a down year. This guy could explode in points next year once Rick Tocchet gets the can, once it's a new system in place, once Pettersson is allowed to do his dekes and just do what he needs to do. He could very well become a 100-point caliber player next year. He could even do more than that. He's 26 years old. He's young. We're wishy-washy about this in Vancouver, yeah, especially when you consider the fact that JT Miller's name is also in the trade conversations too. I think we've sort of defaulted to this idea that he is going to get traded in the offseason, and Pettersson probably is going to get traded soon. Is there a rebuild on the horizon? Who really knows? But trading Pettersson in a package for Josh Norris, unless that package includes some other elite talent, that's not going to go for Vancouver, man. This fan base is already getting pissed off about the hypothetical Dylan Cousins trade with a Bowen Byram attached to it. What more for Josh Norris and like a Nick Jensen or something? Yeah, Josh Norris can score goals, but you know who else scores goals? Adam freaking Gaudette. That guy's got 15 on the year. He's got 2 fewer goals than Josh Norris does. And that guy, former Vancouver Canuck as well. Not that that's any relevant to the Pettersson trade conversation. I don't think Petey is getting traded for the hockey god of all people. Would that not be so funny? Like, remember back in the 2020 bubble days when the NHL took a break because of the coronavirus and Adam Gaudette was doing his Twitch streams and Pettersson would be playing Warzone with him? Like, that was back in the day, man. That was half a decade ago. And now, like, I'm not saying that they're going to get traded for each other, but it is interesting to talk about goal-scoring centers in the National Hockey League who happen to be in the Ottawa Senators system. I don't think this trade idea works for anybody in Vancouver, but the idea was talked about in the fourth period, which is why I wanted to make this video. Josh Norris to Vancouver, yay or nay? I get it, he was Quinn Hughes' BFF in Michigan, but other than that, does he really upgrade the team to a significant capacity by trading away Elias Pettersson? I don't know. Of course, the show is brought to you by Express. Use the first link in the description to get yourself some good savings on your VPN, and also check out the rest of the article in the description as well. Thoughts in the comment section about this entire thing. I hope you enjoyed this video. Sign on, and bye.